We are live to YouTube. Test, test. There we go. March. It's not possible.
Sure. I don't. There's to be low.
Right, we are live on both Rogers and YouTube, Madam Deputy Clerk. Okay, and Sue today, I suspect. So I will begin the meeting as we do in a good way by acknowledging with respect that we are in Robinson Huron Treaty Territory and that the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and known as Bawating. Bawating is home to Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, and the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council. Madam Clerk.
Yourself minutes of regular council meeting.
All in favor? That carries.
Senior Citizens Drop Center. It's the law. Since the Sault Ste. Marie. Respect to that, as well as the associated.
Other declarations of conflict, Council? Okay, seeing none.
city council meeting as presented.
All in favor? That carries.
Application 25Z 99 Melville Road. It's a motion by councillors Dufour and Bruni, resolved that the report of the junior planner dated June 2, 2025 concerning application A6 25Z be received and that council approve the application in the following manner. Rezone the subject property from gentle density residential R2 zone to gentle density residential R2S zone with a special exception subject to the following provisions. Permit a rooming house with a maximum of 12 units in addition to those uses already permitted in an R2 zone. Require a minimum of 12 parking spaces in association with the rooming house. That a continuous hedgerow consisting of evergreen trees, bushes, or shrubs be planted along both side lot lines, but not required within the first 7.5 meters from the front lot line. The hedgerow shall reach a minimum height of 1.8 meters above established grade at maturity. Further, that council deem the property subject to site plan control and that the legal department be requested to prepare the necessary bylaws to effect the same. Additional information did come in both from the applicant and from neighbors, I believe, that appeared on the addendum that was published this afternoon.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We've got Mr. Tenazzo and Mr. Kirkle here from the planning department. So whoever of the two of you can give us a brief synopsis of this would be appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The subject property is located on the west side of Melville Road. It's about 230 meters southwest of the Trunk Road, Daisy Road intersection. The application is for a site-specific rezoning to permit a 12-bedroom rooming house with 12 parking spaces, 3 shared washrooms, and 2 shared kitchens. The recommendation is to approve this application subject to a number of site-specific provisions, and the applicant, Mr. Shundy, is present to speak on behalf of this application, and I'm available should council have any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tenazzo. Is the applicant, do they wish to speak and add anything to what the contents of the report are? If you could take the mic, if you do.
I just thank everybody for this opportunity, and I'm here to answer any questions if they have. Anybody.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody in the gallery wishing to speak in support of this application? Seeing none, is there anybody in the gallery wishing to speak in opposition to this application? All right, seeing none, council questions? Okay, also seeing none, we can have a vote on the matter. All in favor? That carries. Thank you. If that brings
Voting
us.
to vote, but it's a bit, there you go.
Oh, yeah, there.
Is Councillor Gardy in the Zoom?
He certainly was.
Councillor Bruni in the affirmative? Councillor Spina? I'm waiting for Councillor Gardy. So I will mark him as absent then. And in the affirmative, I have Mayor Shoemaker, Councillors Hollingsworth, Spina, Dufour, Vezo Allen, Bruni, and Scott. And in the negative, Councillor Kinnick. And that carries 7-1.
Brings us to delegations, I believe, Madam Clerk.
Yes. And the first item is the PUC group of companies.
Welcome to council, Mr. McPhee and Mr. Brewer. Miss Elliott.
We're in a period of significant change in the energy sector. Electricity demand is expected to rise dramatically over the next 2 decades, and we're responding with bold action through new infrastructure, innovation, and strategic partnerships. PUC is proud to be one of Ontario's few licensed transmitters in the province, a recognized leader in smart grid development, and a founding member of the new PowerShare Alliance. We're also continuing to invest in critical infrastructure and building partnerships, like the proposed PAX entity with Axium Infrastructure, that support economic development and community resilience. These efforts are about supporting jobs, enabling industrial growth, and ensuring reliable, affordable service for years to come. I'll turn it over to Rob Brewer, the CEO and President of PUC, to give you more detail.
Thanks, Andy. Good evening, Mayor and Council, and thank you for the opportunity to present today. My name is Rob Brewer, I'm President and CEO of PUC. I'm here tonight to provide an update on how we're positioning our utility and our community for long-term success. We are proud to serve as your community-owned utility, firmly rooted in Sault Ste. Marie area, yet actively engaged in addressing some of the most significant energy and infrastructure challenges facing the province. This update will highlight key industry trends, recent initiatives, and the opportunities and partnerships that we're pursuing to support sustainable growth, critical investments, and many of which we're bringing forward today for Council's consideration and support. As we've noted in previous updates, we're in a period of rapid transformation in the electricity sector. Demand is projected to grow by 75% by 2050, driven by the accelerating shift towards electrification and towards clean energy. At the same time, aging infrastructure must be renewed and the grid modernized. PUC is well positioned to lead in this environment. We are one of the few licensed electricity transmitters in the province, and we're a national leader in smart grid innovation. Our team is proactively advancing projects in generation, storage, and transmission, and we're doing so through collaborative, innovative partnerships that accelerate progress and deliver local benefits. Our efforts aren't just about energy, they're about impact. They're about job creation. Capital projects, new operations will create employment here in the Soo. They're about economic development. A reliable infrastructure supports existing businesses, but also attracts new industry. We're about innovation and resilience, where our systems are designed to provide long-term affordability and reliability. And we're about environmental impact. We're enabling electrification and we're reducing emissions to support climate goals. And finally, we're about community investment. We're better able to support local initiatives and infrastructure. Now, one of our most collaborative and exciting initiatives is PowerShare. PUC is a founding member of this new alliance of Ontario utilities. And together, we're working to modernize the grid by integrating local energy sources like battery storage and rooftop solar, and using software to manage power in smarter ways. This is work that has traditionally been handled centrally by the ISO, but local utilities like PUC are now being asked to step into a more active role. Our leadership on the Soo Smart Grid gives us a strong foundation. PowerShare also protects shared intellectual property, ensuring that innovation developed by local utilities stays within the sector. The next area I'd like to touch on is our evolving a partnership with Axium. We're proud to be advancing a new partnership with Axium Infrastructure called PAX, and it reflects our shared commitment to long-term infrastructure investment. As you may know, Axium is a Canadian-owned, long-term investor in core infrastructure. They're also our partner on PUC transmission, and they share our vision for sustainable, community-focused growth. Through PAX, we'll work together to pursue new utility infrastructure projects that'll strengthen PUC's financial position, helps bring in outside capital, but also supports job creation and economic development here in our community. The final item we're bringing forward is a change to PUC Distribution's long-term financing structure, part of our regular financial management practices, but also aligned with some of our broader strategic goals. We're replacing an internal loan between PUC Distribution and PUC Inc. with third-party financing. This improves our flexibility and liquidity and allows PUC Inc. to earn a return through equity ownership in PUC Transmission rather than interest on a loan. This financing supports PUC's strategic plan and aligns with the province's direction on electrification and infrastructure investment. It also positions us to reinvest equity in future business development opportunities. In addition, we're securing a new credit facility to support our ongoing annual infrastructure reinvestment of between $7 and $8 million a year, and ensures our systems remain reliable and resilient. And all of this supports prudent financial stewardship and maintains compliance with the Ontario Energy Board's 60-40 debt-to-equity ratio. As shown in this chart, we're projecting significant capital needs over the coming years to support continued investment in PUC Distribution's infrastructure. The orange bars represent our growing rate base, which reflects the value of assets that we have that are used to deliver electricity service. And as that rate base increases, our financing needs grow alongside it. The blue line shows our current level of debt, and the green line represents the optimal 60-40 debt threshold established by the Ontario Energy Board. Maintaining a balance within that 60-40 debt to equity, it's not just a regulatory requirement, it's really a marker of financial health. The shaded area between the blue and the green lines indicates our future financing needs, essentially the gap that we need to fill to enable us to continue to invest in the system without exceeding prudent borrowing levels. So today we're in front of you asking for support on 3 items. The first is the PowerShare Alliance, and that's approving PUC Distribution's participation as a founding member. It includes transitioning a $50,000 expense that we have into an equity investment and authorization for agreements related to that. The PAX partnership is the second item, and it's approving the formation of the partnership with Axium to develop and invest in some of the other projects we've talked about. And long-term financing is the third item, and that's approving the refinancing for PUC Distribution, as is recommended by the boards of PUC Inc. and PUC Distribution. So with council support, we're ready to take the next step on these important initiatives and continue building a stronger, more resilient utility for Sault Ste. Marie. And with that, that concludes our update. Thank you again for your time and your support, PUC's efforts, and I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
Councillor Vezoalan.
Thank you, and thank you so much, Mr. Brewer and team, for coming on this beautiful, warm summer evening. So impressed with the level of investment and the work being done at PUC. My question is somewhat unrelated, but really talking about what's going on in terms of PUC and job creation. And, while we are, investing and growing, what is that impact to, the employment base at PUC here locally?
Yeah, so what we've done in all of the activities that we're doing from a development perspective is ensured that regardless of where it is in the province, that the back end work is done here in Sault Ste. Marie, creating long-term sustainable jobs here for things like finance and engineering and regulatory. On things where it's more local, then we actually have an operational component as well, where it's our operational staff here at PUC that will be running PUC transmission, that will be running generation in the West End potentially, and doing those sorts of projects. So one of our core functions as a utility-owned utility is to be that sustainable partner to the community, and providing good long-term jobs is a big part of that.
Thank you.
Other councillors with questions? Okay, seeing there's a number of holder motions.
All right, that. So the first PUC shareholder resolution, whereas PUC Inc. is a wholly owned municipal corporation of the City of Sault Ste. Marie, and whereas the corporation of the City of Sault Ste. Marie as the shareholder of PUC Inc. has established a shareholder declaration that requires PUC Inc. seek and receive shareholder approval with respect to the borrowing of any money, the issuance of any debt, the giving of any security, or the making or incurring of any single capital expenditure or acquisition in excess of $5 million, or any capital expenditures which in aggregate are in excess of $10 million in any financial year of PUC Inc. and the subsidiary corporations on a consolidated basis. And whereas PUC Distribution Inc. is proposing to refinance its internal $26.5 million note payable to PUC Inc. through new third-party financing and establish a credit facility for critical capital infrastructure investments. And whereas the financing strategy includes entering into new credit facilities with RBC consisting of a $26.5 million term loan, a $25 million revolving credit facility, and now therefore be it resolved that the shareholder of PUC Inc. hereby, on the recommendation of the PUC Inc. Board of Directors and the PUC Distribution Inc. Board of Directors, approve the refinancing of PUC Distribution as presented. That will, for some reason, the resolution appointing the mayor as proxy came in after that. So in order for the mayor to sign off on that, we have a motion by Councillors Dufour and Kinnick resolved that City Council is authorized to meet in open session as the sole shareholder of PUC Inc. and PUC Services Inc. Further be it resolved that City Council appoints Mayor Matthew Shoemaker as Council's proxy to vote on the resolutions of the shareholder of PUC Inc. and PUC Services Inc.
All in favor? That carries, and then I will
And
vote in
then,
favor of the motion you read just prior to that, Madam Clerk. If council is agreeable to that. Council, any objection to me voting in favor of that? No? Okay.
okay.
Vote in favor of
And
that.
then under 8.8.1.1, PowerShare Inc., whereas the City of Sault Ste. Marie as the shareholder of PUC Inc. has established a shareholder declaration that requires PUC Inc. to seek and receive shareholder approval for equity investments and capital expenditures in excess of established thresholds. And whereas the Independent Electricity System Operator, IESO, has forecasted that Ontario will require up to 75% more electricity by 2050 to meet growing demand driven by electrification and economic development, creating significant opportunities in the sector. And whereas PUC Distribution Inc. is a founding member of PowerShare Inc., a strategic alliance of leading Ontario local distribution companies formed to advance distribution system operator capabilities, enable local energy markets, and integrate distributed energy resources such as battery storage and small-scale generation into the electricity grid. And whereas the creation of PowerShare Inc. aligns with PUC's leadership in smart grid innovation and supports the broader transformation of Ontario's energy system to be more decentralized, digital, and customer-focused. And whereas an initial equity investment of $50,000 is required to formalize PUC Distribution's participation in PowerShare Inc. and secure access to intellectual property and shared tools developed by the Alliance. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the shareholder of PUC Inc. hereby authorize and approve PUC Inc. to support its subsidiary, PUC Distribution Inc., in joining the PowerShare Inc. Alliance and participating as a founding member, approve an equity investment of $50,000 by PUC Distribution Inc. into PowerShare Inc. to secure participation rights and access to shared intellectual property, and authorize PUC Inc. to execute and deliver any and all necessary agreements, instruments, or documents required to formalize PUC Distribution Inc.'s membership in PowerShare Inc. and to support the continued advancement of DSO capabilities.
Council, are you agreeable to me voting in favor of that? Okay, I'll vote in favor of that, Madam Clerk.
And under agenda item 8.8.1.2, Axiom Infrastructure Inc., PUC Inc. Partnership, whereas the shareholder declaration requires PUC Inc. to seek and receive shareholder approval for the creation of new corporate structures or partnerships in any capital investment in excess of $5 million individually or $10 million in aggregate. And whereas the Independent Electricity System Operator, IESO, has forecasted that Ontario will require up to 75% more electricity by 2050 to meet growing demand driven by electrification and economic development, creating significant opportunities in the sector. And whereas PUC Inc. is proposing the formation of a new joint development entity, PAX, in partnership with Axiom Infrastructure, Inc., to manage development-related costs and deliver long-term investment opportunities. And whereas Axiom Infrastructure, Inc. is a Canadian-owned independent portfolio management firm that specializes in long-term investments in core infrastructure assets across the energy, transportation, and social sectors, and has been a strategic partner to PUC in advancing infrastructure initiatives. Now therefore be it resolved that the shareholder of PUC hereby approve the formation of the PAX partnership entity with Axiom Infrastructure, Inc., including the negotiation, execution, and delivery of any partnership, operating, and ancillary agreements necessary to establish and operate the entity, and authorize PUC Inc. to invest development capital into PAX and its associated projects in alignment with the shareholder declaration.
Council, are you all good? You're voting in favor of that as well? Questions? Okay, vote in favor of that as well.
And then under agenda item 8.8.2, while we had the PUC here, there's a motion with respect to the Public Utilities Commission water terms of reference. So there's the motion by Councillor Vezo-Allen and Councillor Bruni, resolved that the report of the city clerk dated July 14, 2025 concerning Public Utilities Commission water terms of reference be received and that the terms of reference be approved.
Council, any questions on this? Seeing none, we could have a vote on the matter. All in favor? That carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
That will bring us to the transit roadmap to electrification study. We have principals from HDR on the call, I believe. And perhaps I'll read the resolution once you've got the presentation.
Oh, I can't read the names on the screen because that writing's a little too small for my eyes, but if you could introduce yourselves, the folks from HDR.
Hi there, good evening. My name is Jonathan Chai, Transportation Planning Lead at HDR.
Welcome to council, Jonathan.
Thanks for having me.
Hi,
Hi.
good evening. My name is Tina Lin, Transportation Data Analyst from HDR.
Welcome to council, Tina. Okay, the floor is yours. We've got your presentation on our screen. Jonathan, Tina, floor is yours.
Okay, great, thank you. If we could go to the next slide. Thank you. So we just have a brief presentation for you summarizing the objectives of this study, what a fleet transition plan is, and next steps. Go to the next slide. The objectives of the study are firstly to plan for how battery electric buses can be introduced by assessing the feasibility of operating BEVs with current bus routes in the Sue's climate and assessing infrastructure needs to maintain, store, and charge them. Secondly, to support the community GHG reduction plan and achieving net zero by 2050. Thirdly, to provide a full understanding of life cycle capital and operating costs of the transition. And finally, to prepare to Sue Transit and apply for funding opportunities. Next slide, please. A common perception about fleet transition plans is that all you need to do is buy new vehicles and think about how to fuel them. Next slide. However, we need to think about much more than that. We need to understand impacts to bus operation, capital and operating costs, new infrastructure needs, and how much power is needed. Next slide. And the fleet transition plan completed for Soo Transit puts the pieces of this puzzle together so that you have a roadmap for the transition tailored to your needs. Next slide. So the next few slides provide some detail about how we developed the plan. Given our limited time here, I'll go through this quickly, but please feel free to ask more detailed questions during the Q&A. Next slide. So there are two primary approaches for charging electric buses. First is to charge at the bus depot only, such that buses must return to the depot when depleted. Second is to charge both at the depot and at other locations en route. And this would typically be at a terminal such as the downtown bus terminal or the Northern Transfer Hub. Next slide. We then completed predictive route modeling scenarios, ultimately found that proceeding with existing BEB technology for the entire fleet is challenging and costly. Scenario 1B, however, shows that waiting for BEB technology to improve reduces the overall costs of transitioning. Next slide. So the flow chart here shows how our team arrived at a recommended phasing strategy. Next slide. We start with an initial pilot project in phase 1, purchasing one bus for Sioux Transit to test and build familiarity with operating and maintaining it. Next slide. In phase 2, we recommend to wait for future technology improvements, purchasing 9 buses that are capable of directly replacing 9 diesel buses. Next slide. And finally, in phase 3, we transition to the remaining 8 diesel buses, which would need to be replaced with 11 BEBs. Next slide. Now, this slide illustrates the approximate timeframes of the strategy based on the phasing described on the previous slides. Next slide. We note at the bottom there are several options to consider as the electric bus market rapidly evolves. Firstly, reevaluating feasibility with technology improvements. Secondly, exploring hydrogen fuel cell electric bus technology. And finally, adjusting transit service to better align with BEB capabilities. Next slide. To support the transition, we've identified infrastructure needs during each phase, including electrical upgrades to serve increased power loads. Next slide. And then total life cycle costs of the plan are summarized on this slide. To replace the existing diesel buses, it would cost an additional $28 million in total capital and operating costs over the next 25 years by 2050. Next slide. Emission reductions, however, would be significant, with 55,000 tons of greenhouse gas emissions reduced over the study period, representing a 95% reduction. Next slide. To wrap things up, next slide. This study provides a feasible implementation plan to achieve the city's emission reduction goals. Recommended phase timelines for vehicle and infrastructure procurement, and financial planning inputs and cost estimates to inform funding applications and capital budgeting. Next slide. And finally, next steps. The city should consider applying for funds and implementing one pilot BEB following a reevaluation of advancements to the technology. And that's it. Thank you, and we're happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Appreciate the quick rundown of that, which was a lot of information in both the report and the presentation. Council, are there questions on the report or the presentation? Councillor Venezuelan.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is just regarding the maintenance and mechanical requirements for the electric buses. Do we have or do we know if there are anyone available within our fleet to take care of those requirements if we were to bring on another bus, bring on a battery-operated bus?
Ms. Maioni?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Venezuelan. At this time, there is not. There is a significant amount of training that's required for the mechanics. It's estimated to be at approximately 64 hours for each one. In addition to that, there are regulations through the Ontario Health and Safety Act and Canadian Safety Authority in regards to being able to work on electric buses.
So we would need to have someone in place that can maintain the bus before we bring a bus live onto the fleet.
That's correct. They would require a significant amount of training, and also it would require training directly from the manufacturer.
No other questions?
Thank you, Councillor Venezuelan. Other councillors with questions? Councillor Bruni?
Just a question regarding life cycle. If you have a diesel vehicle and we switch over to electric, what's the difference? Like, what would last longer, diesel or the electric? Do we know any stats on that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bruni, the Diesel buses have a lifespan of approximately 12 years. We've been able to get quite a few more years out of them due to the proper maintenance that we have. In regards to the electric bus, the life cycle is anywhere from 8 to 12. It's still to be determined. And the other consideration is the lifespan of the batteries, because the batteries could go before the bus, which would cost approximately $300,000 to $400,000 to replace.
So really, there's no cost savings by going electric. It's more for emissions.
The cost savings would come from the reduced fuel.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mayoni, just follow up to that. The reduced fuel cost savings, I think what this presentation is telling us, though, do not surpass the additional capital costs required to buy battery electric buses.
That's correct. Based on taking into consideration absolutely everything, there would still be an additional cost of almost $30 million to the municipality.
Right. Okay. And are we working on training for any of our mechanics so that if we get this pilot up and running for the one electric bus, we'll have someone who's able to maintain it?
To you, Mr. Mayor, essentially we haven't looked into having somebody trained fully on a fully electric bus. Should we move ahead with a hybrid, that would be a good start in order to get some of the qualifications, and then we can move from there.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, you read the resolution?
The motion yet? It's a motion by Councillors Dufour and Kinnock. Resolved that the report from the Director of Community Services dated July 14, 2025 concerning zero emission electrification study be received as information, and that staff be directed to submit modification requests to ICIP for a change of scope on applicable electrification projects to allow for the purchase of rolling fleet assets to include either hybrid or diesel gasoline, be directed to engage with Metrolinx on the purchase of one hybrid bus pending approval of the modification request, report back to Council on the outcome of the HYGN pilot project, and put forward a budget request for 2026 that further outlines financial requirements, and be directed to revisit transit electrification technology options and cost estimates every 2 years to ensure the city remains aligned with its net zero emissions goals and is prepared to act as technologies mature and become more cost effective. And I will open that to vote.
All in favor, Council? Any opposed? That carries.
Do I have Councillor Gardy? Affirmative?
Madam Clerk, I'm having issues with my e-scribe, but I'm in favor.
That passes 8-0 with 3 absent. Then we'll go to, we had under agenda item 6.3, which was 8.3.2, a proposed wind farm project. And there's been a request by the proponent that be postponed. So I have a motion by Councillors Bezo Allen and Bruni, resolved that the report of the manager of Business Attraction Economic Development dated July 14, 2025 concerning the proposed wind farm project be received, and that the matter be postponed at the request of the proponent.
Any questions on the postponement, Council? All right, seeing none, all in favor? That carries.
Okay, then we go to the Active Transportation Master Plan. And there are representatives of WSP on the line. Adam Rosenfield, the Senior Transportation Engineer. And again, I'll read the motion after the presentation.
Welcome to Council, Mr. Rosenfield, sorry.
Hi, good afternoon. Can folks hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Okay, well, thank you all for your time on this matter today. I'm Adam Rosenfield, Senior Transportation Engineer at WSP, and I'm pleased to be presenting the city's Active Transportation Master Plan for council consideration today. So to the next slide, please. First, we'll start with what is active transportation? Well, it's basically movement at a human scale. So typically walking or bicycling, with a broader categorization to include wheelchairs, scooters, rollerblading, skateboards, and we often consider the emerging area of micromobility, so e-bikes and e-scooters within this umbrella as well. If we go to the next slide, what is an active transportation master plan? Well, it's a strategy to guide decision-making as well as budgeting and communications related to active transportation and its function in a multimodal transportation network. So we're talking about a long-term planning and implementation guide, building off the work from the prior 2007 Cycling Master Plan, the 2015 Transportation Master Plan, last year's Parks and Rec Master Plan, and other key policy documents. So if you go to the next slide, the objectives of this ATMP include enhancing safety and accessibility across the city for pedestrians and cyclists, creating connectivity, so thinking about filling gaps in the sidewalk network, trails, and bike routes, advancing transportation equity, particularly through the lens of what we call the AAA, or All Ages and Abilities network, and educating and encouraging. So not just about the infrastructure, but bringing the community along to promote and facilitate active transportation. So on the next slide, you can see sort of what was done through this project, from a background review to network development, a robust set of public engagement rounds, and finalization of the plan where we are today. On the next slide, we'll briefly just discuss the route planning and how we went about selecting routes for upgrading and new inclusion in the network. So we reviewed the city's existing network of active transportation infrastructure, including sidewalks, bike lanes, multi-use paths, and trails. And we engaged with city staff, the public, and stakeholders to identify routes that should be created or upgraded based on criteria like safety and accessibility, routes that can be connected and continuous, feasibility on both a physical and capital investment perspective, and supporting multimodal needs, so connecting pedestrian and cyclist routes to transit, for example, and connections to key destinations around the city, so connecting people where they actually want to go. So on the next slide, you can see examples of what the cycling network can include. So at a basic level, these are things like paved shoulders, neighborhood bikeways that have lower traffic volumes and slower speeds, and sort of traditional painted or buffered bike lanes. As well as on the next slide, we see an enhanced level of facilities that include protected bike lanes, cycle tracks, which are sort of bike lanes above the curb, and multi-use paths as well. And so in developing this, on the next slide, we can see that there was extensive consultation that took place through from 2022 through early this summer, including stakeholder interviews with city departments and external organizations, workshops and focus groups, including with the Sioux Trails Advocacy Committee and others, 2 public surveys, public open houses last year and more recently this year, pop-ups and discussion papers posted online. And these helped inform the networking and programming and prioritization of the network that we'll show in a moment. So on the next slide, we'll see some of the key themes we heard from that public engagement. Some of these related, of course, to safety and how safety for pedestrians and cyclists can be improved. Things like separating cycling facilities from motor vehicles, creating safer crossings at intersections, particularly around the hub trail, closing gaps to create that continuous network, and expanding the network overall of active transportation facilities. Included more connections to key destinations and the hub trail itself, and improving maintenance and accessibility of sidewalks and active transportation facilities all year long, and more supportive amenities like rest areas, wayfinding, and bike racks, and the like. So if we go to the next slide, I'm not going to have time to go into every detail of the network here, and I encourage folks to look at the detailed report. But overall, this is the proposed pedestrian network, which includes a gradual filling in of sidewalk gaps and improving safe crossings, including through signalized crosswalks. And on the next slide, you can see the cycling network, which includes a wide variety of facility upgrades, new routes and crossings, both within the urban area shown here, and as well as in the outskirts of the city shown in another map. And a few just network highlights on the next slide to point out. The West End Hub Trail is an exciting highlight that fills a gap with limited active transportation infrastructure in sort of west of Carmen's Way in the west side of the city, using a backbone of Walls Terrace, People's Road, Rossmore Road, and naturalized areas around the storm channels. as well as the Trunk Road Trail, which is being explored between the rail line and Trunk Road. A longer term project, but certainly important given the barrier that the rail line poses there. And other highlights include more broadly just a generalized expanded network and new connections, enhanced facilities across the city, and leveraging properties through hydro corridors and parks, through conversation with utilities and the Conservation Authority to really lean into providing quiet routes and creating connectivity across Sault Ste. Marie. And then if we go to the next slide, the final item to mention is programs initiatives. So beyond the network itself, the ATMP outlines a comprehensive portfolio of community programming to leverage the city's investment in active transportation and encourage people of all ages, abilities, and walks of life to make active transportation a bigger part of their day-to-day lives. And yeah, would encourage anyone interested to check out the plan and read more. But yeah, I think that's my time. So happy to take questions at this time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rosenfield. Appreciate the sticking to the time frame there, as well as the previous two presenters as well. They're nice and succinct. Council, are there questions? Councillor Dufour, Councillor as well, and then Councillor Hollingsworth. Oh, the lights don't work, but the mics do.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Rumiel. Mr. Rumiel, just a question of curiosity. Has the upcoming 5-year capital plan been harmonized or taken into account some of the proposed sidewalks or proposed facility improvements within the active transportation plan?
Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Dufour, absolutely.
Excellent. So that's great news. Thanks.
Councillor Venezuelan.
Thank you. My question is in the report on page 5, there is a recommendation for an active transit coordinator and as well a active transportation committee. I would just like some clarification as to is this coordinator going to come to budget in 2026? Are they going to be working in tandem with, accessibility? So just if I could get some more detail on that.
Mr. Tenazo? Or Mr. Kirkle, sorry.
Through you, Mayor Shoemaker, to Councillor Venezuelan. The active transportation coordinator is not anticipated to come along budget deliberations for 2026. We're thinking that probably once we get a better understanding of the financial picture with active transportation, and as well as when active transportation can be maybe matured enough, then that would be an appropriate time to onboard or to request having an active transportation coordinator. And they would be working alongside the accessibility coordinator amongst a number of staff that are involved in the civil infrastructure planning.
So at this time, if we don't have an active transportation coordinator, who's going to be leading the work then in the meantime in coordination with Diane Morale at the Accessibility Office?
It will be me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And in terms of the committee, has there been a terms of reference or do we have a time frame when that committee is going to be formalized?
If this plan gets supported and backed by council, that will be our next steps to research on the best practices with committees.
Okay. And my only other question is regarding the budget and the duration. So on page 7, and this might be a Ms. Shell question. On page 7, there's 400,000 committed, proposed committed over a 20-year period of time annually. I guess it's a multi-prong. So if we're looking at this plan taking over 20 years, is that really, are we going to be able to make an impact? And what would that $400,000 do when we're taking a look at all the plans? Like, it just seems like we're prolonging, and I don't know that in 20 years what cost $200,000, it's probably going to be $2 million. So I'm just trying to understand the rationale of phasing out so long and what really realistically can we deliver based on that plan if it's being underfunded?
To you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Venezuelan. My understanding is the intent is that the city's share of funding, if approved at budget time, will be used to leverage grants as well so that we can build upon getting this done a little quicker. So it depends on the grant time. This is a long-term plan. Things aren't going to happen overnight. We have to look at affordability within the community as well as having a more timely implementation. We got to balance the two.
Okay, I can just say, especially from, conversations around the accessibility committee table, that, there is definitely, in terms of having that equity, all ages, having that transportation availability, we do have a lot of folks that are using assistive devices, and I would like to see sooner than later having this plan implemented, because I think we definitely do have a need in our community to give better access to folks that require, better, tactile indicators and better signals and ramps and all of those things. And I think personally, I would like to see, if possible, more funding going into this and not over a 20-year period of time, because I think it's going to get lost in that time frame. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Councillor Vezo-Allen. Councillor Hollingsworth?
Thank you. I also want to say thank you to a number of active members here in the gallery. Hi, Don, Andre. All of you have been very proactive, so thank you for all your input. Just a couple of questions. I just want to continue on to Councillor Lisa Van-Zwellen's comment about the grants. I'm not sure who to direct it to, maybe through you, Mayor, to Michelle or to Mr. Romel. Are there any grants in the process right now? Are we looking at any grants at the moment? None at all?
Through Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, that is a question that you'd have to pose to the department that is looking at active transportation. I'm not aware of anything off the top of my head.
Okay.
Maker to Councillor Hollingsworth. So we are always actively searching for grants that are available. At present, about maybe 6 months ago, I did submit an application for the federal government under the Active Transportation Grants Program. I have not received any confirmation or status on that, but that is currently on. That's currently inactive.
Okay. Out of curiosity, are you able to give us an idea if we are successful, and I'd like to be positive, when we're successful, how much money would that be approximately?
About 4 million, I believe. And we're hoping to stack it with another funding source from the province. So there's that ability to significantly scale up the grants should everything work in our favor.
Okay, that's great. Fingers crossed, right? Positive. And not to get into the weeds, but do you know if that 4 million has to be spent within a year, 2 years, or do you have an idea what the time frame is? Again, I'm trying to be positive.
Under all grants, there is a typical time frame, so I believe this was 5 years. Our typical approach, though, is to really expand and maximize that time frame so the municipal burden in 1 year isn't too excessive.
Okay, great. Thank you. Once again, the staff, you do a great job in looking for grants and extra money, so thank you for your work. Again, fingers crossed. Just a couple more questions. Through you, Mayor, I think this should go to Mr. Carl Rumenel. I looked at your map of the cycling, and as we know, we're getting, and this is a positive, we're receiving a lot more tourist cyclists who actually are cycling across Ontario or cycling across Canada, and that's a positive. We talked about this, but in this plan, is there going to be a link going down Queen Street through the New Park Queen up to Trunk Road into Garden River? There is still that one portion that is neglected, and a lot of tourist cyclists are coming to our town currently and hopefully more in the future. I think there is a disconnect there. Can you comment on that?
Mr. Mayor, I think Peter Tenazzo would be better to answer this.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hollingsworth, as you know, there is an outstanding resolution speaking to that we are working with MTO on right now. So there is the plan to have certainly the bike lane that goes all the way down Queen through the new subdivision. And then we've got a path, or what we call locally a catwalk, that connects from that subdivision to Trunk Road, or essentially right at that intersection. And we're just working with MTO right now. We've had some very preliminary conversations with Garden River First Nation as well to continue that through and connect with the waterfront trail and the Trans-Canada Trail that come in that area.
Okay, great. And I asked that because unfortunately part of that map was kind of chopped off, so I couldn't really see that. Thank you. Two other questions. Going with technology, I'm not sure who I can throw this out to, but through you, Mayor, maybe continue with Mr. Tenazzo. Is there an opportunity for an app to be downloaded once this is approved so that tourist cyclists are coming in town, they can look at their cell phone and see all the different wonderful trails and the easiest trails to take? Is there such a, oh, go ahead.
On a GIS system, and we could easily export that to some online public interfacing program, whether that is an app. I know there's, I think, trail apps, or that's something we could research to increase the exposure for tourism and both users alike within the city.
Okay, great. And to continue with you, if you don't mind, through you, Mayor, can you just elaborate on what do you mean by winter wheels, just for the audience at home, please?
I believe that refers to winter maintenance. Is that correct? Yeah, winter maintenance, we, it all forms part of that four-season accessibility with respect to snow clearing, strategic locations, just for both the recreational needs, functional needs.
Okay, great. That's great. Again, just reinforces what Councillor Spino has been asking for, which is a positive. Let's try to continue on if we can to cycle through the 4 seasons. Thank you. That's all.
Councillor Spina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple questions. Councillor Vezo-Allen brought up the price here, not the price, but I guess the funding model over 20 years. I have to express concern over a 20-year model as well here. In 20 years, we know that land ownership is going to transfer in certain areas. Things are going to be built. There's going to be quite different infrastructure out in the world. I would hate to see us set ourselves up or set future council up for failure by trying to project too far into the future instead of doing what we can immediately today to get things done. So personally, I'd like to see a model that is maybe funded a little bit differently with a much more accelerated timeline. We know, like, before I was on council, well before, people were talking about the West End link to the hub trail. It's never happened. It's been a concept, but it's never happened. We owe it to people who live in the West End to provide them this link. We owe it to people in our community to provide the infrastructure that we've pledged to provide many years ago. And I think we need to act much more swiftly than a 20-year time period. I recognize there's budgetary constraints. And I think we need to work more diligently to find ways to get this done. So I would certainly want to advocate for that. One question I did want to ask was regarding the, I think it was called the connecting link on Old Garden River Road, and perhaps that maybe goes to Mr. Ramil. I'm not sure who that would go to, but it was described as a connecting link between Terrence Avenue and Northern Avenue. Or maybe Mr. Tenazzo?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Spina. So that is a gap in the hub trail network right now. So Old Garden River Road, the hub trail comes out through the fire hall, and then basically you're on the road, which has ditches on either side, across second line, all the way up to Terrence Avenue. So the goal is to try to create an off-road multi-use trail to essentially expand the hub trail so that it connects that gap that exists right now.
Right, and looking at the report, and I can't find it now in front of me, of course, it was a hefty price tag for that one portion, right? So I travel that very often. It's paved, it's wide shoulders. There's already a link between the old fire hall to the road. I'm missing where we would need to build infrastructure that doesn't already exist there. Could we not just divert those funds to start building the West End Trail and make that a priority?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, agreed. The West End Loop is, if we had priority 1A, that's the West End Loop. And I would suggest that these gaps that exist in the existing hub trail network would be more priority 1B, if you will. So the West End Loop is certainly a higher priority at this point,
right?
Than that. And if the sort of direction is that maybe we look more at the West End and we sort of lower the priority level there, we can look at that as well.
Right, so a section like that Old Garden River Road section that we're talking about already has infrastructure that is very, very friendly to cycling and active transportation already. So I don't see the value in spending huge dollars there when we have massive areas that are completely untouched in this. So my hope would be, and I don't know if what the result would be on the discussion here tonight, but my hope would be to see an accelerated plan here with a different finance model, if that would be possible, or perhaps that's just a conversation we keep having, Mr. Mayor. Is that?
Well, the recommendation would be that a $400,000 increase comes to budget. And that budget, it's up to council to determine whether that's 4, 6, 2,
right,
whatever the number is.
Okay, so this would come to budget and we can have those further deliberations then, perhaps? Right. Perfect. Would it be possible? No, disregard. That would be a different ask of staff to come up with a different report, so don't worry about that. Wonderful. Those are my questions for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Spina. Councillor Gardy?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'm glad to hear that colleagues agree with myself and Councillor Scott and some of the other councillors from the West End in that connection to the West End needs to be a priority. We've been talking about it for, well, I've been around 6 or 7 years now. We've made some very slow progress. We need to expedite that, and I appreciate that that'll be an enhanced sort of priority in moving forward. I have a couple of things. So one is, if I look at the 4 objectives of the plan: create connectivity, enhance safety and accessibility. Third being advanced transportation equity and education and encouragement. The first 3 are quite vital in today's day and age. I don't believe, as some of my colleagues have already mentioned, that 20 years is a very ambitious plan, and it needs to be sped up, for lack of a better way of putting it. Accelerated, I guess, would be the word. Could I, through you, Mr. Mayor, to either whoever could answer this question, maybe I can't see who's in attendance for staff, but is someone from Public Works there?
Yes.
Is Susan there? Or sorry, is Mrs. Hamilton Beach there?
Yes.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Ms. Hamilton Beach. When we're looking at things like a multi-use path for the hub trail, to put it simply, what kind of distance are we getting for 400 grand? You have any sense of that? How long of a multi-use path we could use? And I'm talking about like the traditional hub trail, not like any other multi-use kind of system that we have, like a bike lane.
Mr. Tenazzo says he can answer that.
Oh, perfect.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Gardy. So the traditional hub trail, which is a 3-meter asphalt with the concrete ribbon on either side, the last pieces that we did, to put it into perspective, it was about $1,100 a meter. So that's $1,100 a meter. That was the cost for the asphalt, the curbing, the engineering around that, where you get to intersections, the work that has to happen there. So again, it's over $1,000 a meter.
Okay, so $400,000 gets us about maybe 380 meters ish, 390 potentially.
Through you, Mayor, that would be about correct. Yes. Now, when we bundle with other projects, there's savings and certainly leveraging other funds, but that's essentially, when you look at it on a per unit basis, that's what we have been looking at with our most recent projects.
Great. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to either Mr. Tenazzo or Mr. Kirko, looking at the West End, knowing what's to come infrastructure-wise, are there opportunities moving forward over the next few years, based upon what you might be aware of, to as you said, Mr. Tenazzo, tie into other projects that are coming forward?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Gardy. So People's Road, there's an example there where we'll be moving ahead with portions of multi-use or hub trail. There's some opportunities, Wallace Terrace, around Lyons Avenue and west. And there could be some other opportunities moving forward as you move west on Second Line as well. But there certainly are some opportunities, and where we can bundle, we will.
Okay. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to whoever on staff can answer this question. How many kilometers right now is the hub trail? The hub trail proper.
Through Mayor Shoemaker to Councillor Gardy, 28 kilometers. So the multi-use to John Roswell multi-use trail.
Okay, so we're looking at 300 meters for 400 grand, and we build that out over 20 years, and we talk about how much things will increase. Yeah, it doesn't really seem like a very ambitious plan. So I think we're gonna have to prioritize this as it comes to budget deliberations. We've seen over the course of the last little bit that we haven't, well, I don't know if we've made any progress on any of our emissions goals. It's been kind of non-existent, quite frankly, but we're making some strides and decisions to improve that. So the project will have my full support. I'm just hopeful that we can throw some meaningful money behind it, especially for those residents in and around the West End who it's long overdue that they're serviced by a plan that covers the central part of the city and the eastern part of the city quite comprehensively. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Gardy. Other councillors with questions? Mine is just, I suppose, kind of a tandem question for Mr. Tanazo, Mr. Rumiel. In the 5-year capital plan, it doesn't have Rossmore Road being resurfaced. It doesn't have, or reconstructed, whatever it is. It doesn't have, Cora Road, doesn't have work being done on the Davignon Creeks necessarily, although that could work into bridges and aqueducts. So if a funding opportunity comes available, like the one that Mr. Kirkle's describing, would you bring a new capital plan to try and bundle the trail work with the road work at the same time, try and get some of those savings?
Mr. Mayor, speaking to the 5-year capital plan, we revisit it every year, so it gets an update every year. So, I mean, unless something comes up tomorrow where they want to act immediately, we have next year's iteration to add and sort of shake the globe and see what comes from that. So as you probably recognize from last year's to this year's and 2 years ago, it changes quite a bit. So.
Yeah. Okay. It's only 5 years in title, not in practice.
Well, it's a rolling 5 years.
Okay. Council, any questions from that? Okay. Seeing none, we can have, Madam Clerk, you did read the motion? Yes. It is open on your e-scribes and all in favor. That carries. On to budget time to discuss that.
Did Councillor Gardy vote?
He voted in favor, yep.
Thank you.
And then that will take us to consent.
Council items on consent, Councillor Venezuela.
Mr. Mayor, I just have one, 7.8, and it's probably a question for Ms. Tazinski regarding the mayor's youth advisory request to be included in consultation with the mural. I fully support the request. Do we need to do a motion for direction to ensure that that happens, or is it, if we just recommend that that happens, will then Alicia Moore and Virginia McLeod involve them in the process?
Mr. Laming?
Councillor Vezo Allen, we spoke with the team today and they're more than happy to reach out to the individual that submitted the request. There's actually a spot on the CBC committee for them to participate, and we'd be happy to have them involved in this initiative.
Wonderful.
I think this is a great example of Mayor's Youth Advisory Council having some input into some of the projects that the city is undertaking. So thank you to Andre for submitting that request. Anyone else on 7.8? Councillor Venezuela, other items on consent?
Nothing. Thank you.
Other councillors with items on consent? Councillor Dufour?
I have a question on 7.1.
Yeah.
Through you to Mr. Vare. Mr. Vare, the report talks about the finalizing of an MOU between the city and the Police Services Board. I was wondering if you have an approximate timeline on that MOU and if the MOU will come back to council.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Dufour, There's a draft currently with the Police Services Board. My understanding is the board has directed their staff to try and complete by August 31st. So we do anticipate a report coming back to council with the MOU in the August-September timeframe.
Okay, so likely before the next budget cycle.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. And the report also references KPMG Shared Services Review Feasibility Study. What is the date of that study? Do you recall?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Dufour, that was completed about 2 years ago.
Okay.
The report from KPMG was presented. It had a number of recommendations as it relates to opportunities for our respective finance, HR departments to collaborate. It also looked at communications as well. So we're using that report to inform the MOU that we're crafting with the police services.
So looking forward to seeing it when it comes back to council. Thank you.
Anyone else on 7.1? Okay, seeing none. Councillor Dufour, other items on consent?
That's it.
Anyone else with items on consent? Just going to note that I think Pedal Pub is an excellent idea and happy to see a private entrepreneur proposing that and think that that will be well used. Councillor Scott, Pedal Pub got your attention.
Yeah, actually, that I meant to ask this. I didn't have it written down. I forgot. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to who provided the report?
Mr. Lamming, I believe.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Lamming. Mr. Lamming, if another proponent came forward in the next little while during this pilot to do something similar, would it be a similar situation, comes to council, and we would more or less approve it or not approve?
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Scott, we're open for business, so we'd be open to anyone.
Okay, good. So we're not just doing this pilot, one person, because they were the first one. Like other people could definitely take this idea and run with it if they wanted.
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Scott, yes, we would, but it'd be subject to a bylaw and legal department would have to come back with that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
A motion by Councillors Dufour and Kinnick resolved that all items listed under date July 14, agenda item 7, consent agenda save and accept agenda item 7.12 be approved as recommended.
All in favor? That carries.
And I would point out on 7.13, that's the seniors drop-in center that the mayor has a conflict on. Councillor Dufour has also advised that he has a pecuniary interest as is employed by the DSAB, so that will be accepted. However, there's, because it's a bylaw, there's not a resolution under the consent piece. So we will then go to 8.3, which is the Sault Ste. Marie Police Service 2024 Annual Report. I have a motion by Councillors Dufour and Kinnick resolved that the Sault Ste. Marie Police Service Annual Report 2024 be received as information.
Any questions? Okay, seeing none, we can vote on that. All in, Councillors, question?
Sorry, is anyone here to answer questions on that?
This is an annual report that's mandated to be forwarded to council as part of the Community Safety and Policing Act. So, no. All in favor? That carries.
And this to agenda item 9.1. It's a motion by Councillors Kinnick and Bruni. Whereas Sault Ste. Marie is a community deeply rooted in winter culture and proud of its industrial heritage, particularly its long-standing contributions to the steel industry. And whereas the city of Sault Ste. Marie embraces its naturally gifted identity and is continually seeking creative ways to enhance tourism, promote civic pride, and celebrate its unique local character. And whereas roadside attractions are known to generate increased visitor traffic, create photo-worthy landmarks and contribute to a sense of place and identity. And whereas a giant snowflake sculpture crafted from locally produced steel would serve as a meaningful and visually striking symbol of both our natural climate and our local industry, reinforcing the city's connection to winter and its manufacturing heritage. And whereas such a sculpture would not only contribute to beautification and placemaking, but could also support local artists, fabricators, and businesses through its design, construction, and installation. Now, therefore, be it resolved that city staff be requested to consult with local community and industry partners and report back to council regarding potential project scope, design, location, and community engagement opportunities. Further, be it resolved that the report identify costs and funding sources, including municipal accommodation tax revenue, city public art funding, cultural vitality committee, donations, sponsorship grants, and funding from other levels of government.
Kinnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to start with an acknowledgement. Excuse me. Of two
Oh,
residents.
you're cutting out a bit, Councillor Kinnick. I don't know if you got to maybe get closer to the mic.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to start with an acknowledgement of two residents that brought this idea to me. It was their design concept that led me to drafting this resolution. Thank you, Vera and Lee. Simply stated, public art brings life to spaces. This installation would be more than just visually striking. It would be a conversation starter, a destination, a community builder, and a reflection of creativity, all while representing the industry and natural beauty that our city is known for. I'm proud to see us investing in our cultural expression. Art like this sets the tone for the kind of city we want to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kinnick. Councillor Bruni, anything to add?
Councillor Kinnick on this one here, as long as it doesn't affect our taxpayers, if we can get grant money and sponsorship, fully for it.
Okay. Council, did you have a question, Councillor Vezwan? Go ahead.
Wondering if Councillor Kinnick and Councillor Bruni would be open to a friendly amendment in terms of the design, that the design would come from the Cultural Vitality Committee and that we would put it out, especially with the MIAC recommendation with having some input. So that would be it, is that I don't want it to be a prescribed design based on, and I mean, I think it's wonderful that the two residents reached out to Councillor Kinnick, but like we did with the New Year's Eve drop at the plaza, you know, we had that out for community consultation. So that I would just want the friendly amendment to not specify. So whereas a giant sculpture rather than giant snowflake, that would be, I think community engagement is really important and community art is, but I think we need to have a fulsome and open process for the design.
Councillor Kinnick, are you friendly to that amendment?
Like I said, the concept was from the residents and they were pretty adamant about this snowflake. So I would like to keep it for the snowflake. That's okay.
Councillor Bruni, do you have any preference?
The constituents stated a snowflake, but I mean, they can. I'm okay if what Councillor Vezwan has brought forward, but it's up to Councillor Kinnick because he's the mover.
Would it satisfy everybody if we just under that now therefore be it resolved paragraph said where it says project scope, design, location, community engagement opportunities? Could we add a word there that says you know, or other symbols that might be recommended? Would that be agreeable, Councillor Kinnick?
I think that would be agreeable.
Councillor Bruni? Councillor Vezwan? Okay. Madam Clerk?
That's not quite what I did, but I will. I did, whereas a giant sculpture with design input from the Cultural Vitality Committee, etc. But I will, I can fix that and we'll open to vote.
All right. Approval as amended, if anyone is in favor. Any opposed? That looks like it carries as amended.
Counselor Gardy.
It was in favor
Opposed.
from.
Thanks.
Oh, opposed, okay.
So that's Shoemaker, Hollingsworth, Spina, Dufour, Bezoel, and Bruni, Kinnock, and Scott in the affirmative, and Counselor Gardy in the negative, and 2 counselors absent. Bring us to bylaws, and I'm accepting both bylaw 2025-115, which was the wind project bylaw that's being postponed, as well as 116 that Councillor Dufour and Mayor Shoemaker are conflicted on. So I have a motion by Councillors Vezo-Allen and Bruni, resolved that all bylaws under item 12 of the agenda under date July 14, 2025, save and accept bylaws 2025-115 and 2025-116 be approved.
All in favor?
Sunny Spina. Bylaw 2025-116, Sault Ste. Marie Housing Corporation Seniors Drop-In Center Extension, 619 and 615 Bay Street. A motion by Councillors Vezo-Allen and Bruni, resolved that bylaw 2025-116 being a bylaw to authorize execution of the extension agreement between the city and Sault Ste. Marie Housing Corporation for a lease of space for seniors drop-in center located at 619 and 615 Bay Street be passed in open council this 14th day of July 2025.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none? Motion carries.
It does. And motion by Councillors Vezo-Allen and Bruni, resolved that this council now adjourn.
All in favor? Excellent. Very good.